the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. And today I am lucky enough to be with Susan Sams. Susan, could you give us a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
I am a 54-year-old mom who started writing her first novel at age 40. So I've been doing it a while, but not as long as a lot of people. I've got 5 Alabama novels. They're called the Alabama series published, and I have 3 more of a new Louisiana series coming out in 2022, plus a novella. So I've spent the last couple years writing like crazy, and now I'm going to see the fruits of my labor at the next year. I live in Atlanta with my husband in the suburbs and our dog Watson, our Labradoodle. And I've got 3 grown children who are in varying stages of finishing college.
Why did you get started writing?
Well, I mean, I've always been an avid reader since I was a little kid. I grew up in the middle of nowhere with pretty much nothing to do. I had my cat and my hammock. And so I read a lot. And my parents actually owned a used bookstore. So I read and read and read everything from comic books to Nancy Drew mysteries to Harlequin romances. And, I kept that love of reading even after I had kids, and I continued to read. And I really enjoyed well-written books. And then sometimes I would read a book and think, I could have written that. Of course, we all say that, right? So, but I decided at that point in my life that my kids weren't as reliant on me as they had been, that I needed to find something for myself, that I needed to, try something new. And that was what I did. On my 40th birthday, my husband gave me a laptop for Christmas for my birthday, and patted me on the head and said, "Oh yeah, you go write a book, honey." And so here I am.
And how many books have you said you've written?
I've written books, but then I published books. So there are a few I haven't actually taken out from under the bed. I've got 5 books published starting in 2015 with Truly Publishing Group. And they are a whole series set in the same small town of Ministry, Alabama. And I wrote the last one in 2020, came out last year at Christmas time. I'll have 3 Louisiana books coming out beginning in May through November. Every 2 months there'll be a release. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of writing, but I'm really excited about this new series.
So the name Ministry, Alabama, is that a real town, or did you fictitiously think of?
No, it is not a real town. It was indicative of the way I grew up. So all the churches, there's a church, everybody's got their church, and so it was one of those towns that had all the churches. But it's called Ministry, Alabama. It's not a Christian fiction, but it's just a small town, with all the funny characters. I call it my tobacco spitters and junior leaguers, just all the people who come out of the woodwork every day. And, if you're not used to it, it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting when you're used to it.
Well, I love the name Ministry. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it came out of the idea that everybody had a church.
Well, and there's really not a lot of church in the book, but it's just indicative of that little small town in North Louisiana that I grew up in, and they were everywhere, and then everybody wanted you to come to their church. Hey, why don't you come to our church this weekend? We're having a singing on Sunday or whatever. And that has stayed with me because I was Catholic. So I was like this person, this wild person who didn't belong, in this town, because I wasn't one of the Protestant, people. So yeah, it was always a thing, because, Catholics drink and dance. Sinners.
Is the town in Louisiana, does it have a nice name to it as well?
No, it's actually called Negrete. Negreet. It's not super nice, the name, but it's a great place. And I've gotten a lot of support from the people I grew up with, from the town itself, I say the town, the nearby town 10 miles away. I lived off the highway on some land, which most people did.
Is that a real town?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's a real town, but my Ministry, Alabama is not a real town.
Right. All right. So, it's fun how we come up with these creative ideas for names and locations. And then we have to build basically the foundation of the town.
Right.
We build the people, we build the experiences. It's a lot of fun to be able to dive in there and live through it vicariously with our characters.
It's like visiting every time I would go back into, every time I go back into my document, I'm like, what are we doing today? Who are we going to see today? What's going to happen? And it is like your own little world that you create.
Tell me about your writing schedule. It sounds like you do a lot of writing.
Well, this past year and a half has been super full. I get up in the morning, I feed my dog, I start my laundry, I have my breakfast, check all my social media, and sit down and write for as long as I can stand it. And then I get up, have lunch, and then probably try to write again for a couple of hours in the afternoon until my husband gets home around 5. He does like his dinner. So, and being a Southern wife of 32 years, I still make dinner most of the time.
Tell me about your editing process.
I'm one of those people that opens up the document and I go back and look through what I wrote the day before and kind of with fresh eyes and kind of work on that a little bit. And then I start with the new pages after that.
I do something similar to that. Yeah. I like the idea of the continuity that I create in my own head. If I wait too long to go back to something, I don't necessarily remember exactly what I was thinking. So then it's harder for me to be.
Right. I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's harder to pinpoint the thoughts that you had, and if you need to make adjustments.
And some days I go back to the very beginning and just read those first few pages again and kind of make sure that the feel of it matches my latest, what I've written recently. Sometimes your book evolves and changes from that first chapter. So I go back and make little tweaks and changes on that first couple, pages quite often.
How do you keep everything organized?
I just work out of a Word document. I've downloaded every writer software in the world. And I just tend to do best with my my Mac, Word for Mac. As far as keeping it organized, I make notes. I make a scene list. I'm kind of a pantser. I write down all my ideas. I make a scene list as to what needs to happen. But I'm not one to outline an entire book with all the, character arcs and everything, which I'm trying to do better. I really am, because I do know my work will improve and be easier for me if I will prepare it.
Do you have a consistent character that runs through the books? I assume it's because it's in the same town. I assume it's a series.
I do. There's a family. It's a large family. The first Alabama series is about this kind of a wacky group of siblings who the mother lives in this old historical home that they use as a venue, a wedding venue, weddings, funerals, you name it. They're doing it there in the town because it's the only one in town. So the mother has had back surgery, which is the catalyst that brings my original character that in the first book home. And she's just had an unfortunate crepe Suzette hair fire incident on television. And she's kind of like shamed and gone home. Her boss is like a Paula Deen character, kind of a loud, but loving person. And she's got her eyebrows burned off and her hair caught fire. And so my heroine was fired. And so she went home to help her mama who had back surgery. And it goes from there. Of course, her, the guy she split up with, 10 or 12 years ago was back in town. And so it's a trope, second chance romance. And the characters are the siblings. the siblings, the like I said, tobacco spitters and junior leaguers in town. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows what's going on with each other. And so there is one character that's kind of everybody's favorite. His name is Howard. And Howard is a boyfriend to the mom at Evangeline House, where the event place is. And nobody knows what he did. They know he did some super, super secret spy government stuff. But every time anybody needs anything really big, Howard just steps up and goes, yeah, I got it. He can call in a helicopter. He can go to his weapons den or whatever he needs, whatever anybody needs. Somehow Howard, and you still don't ever find out what his mysterious past was. He's just a great guy, and he's got a new family and wants to help everybody out.
What challenges do you face as you are writing each book?
Motivation sometimes to sit down and actually open that document. It's sometimes still very intimidating when I'm not sure what direction my story is going. So I really do have to work myself up to it with the eating breakfast, feeding the dog, starting the laundry, sitting down, going through all the socials, and then I'm ready. But it's like, that's what I have to do to kind of prepare my mind for this sitting down and writing for several hours.
What does your writing desk look like?
Well, it is actually a writing chair. And I have a rolling, like, hospital tray cart across my lap. I have my keyboard on my lap, and I have my screen on this tray. And that way I'm looking up and straight and not looking down and hunching my shoulders, reaching over the keyboard. So it's all very, ergonomic, and it's kind of my own concoction creation.
Well, that's good. I know strain can be such a problem.
Yes. I still get neck and shoulders, like a lot of people do.
Did you always want to be a writer?
No, I did not. I was always a reader. And the writing came later as I started trying to expand my mind as to what have I I say, what have I always wanted to do? It really wasn't. I just loved stories. And at some point, the idea came in my mind that I really could try to do that. And then I found out that lots of other people are doing that too, which I had no idea. I never met, anybody that was actually writing a novel. And then when I figured out that I wanted to give it a try, I kind of went all in.
And your books are traditionally published?
They are. It's actually a digital publisher out of California. Do you know who Jane Porter is? She's a romance author with many, many books under her belt. And she started an imprint about, I guess around 2014, and they publish probably 100 books a year. I mean, it's a good publisher. It's just not one of the big five.
What has that experience been like?
It's been lovely. I mean, they really take care of their authors, and they do a lot of communicating, and they put us all together on a loop, and everybody's kind and friendly. It's really a nice situation. They get Bookbubs for us. If you don't know what a Bookbub is, not you, Alison, but our audience, it's an ad that comes every single day, and you've signed up for, say, the different genres you like to read in, and it's free and discounted, 99 cents, $1.99, $2.99. And that way you get, and they're very picky about which books they take on to put in their ads. And so, it's a pretty good quality read that you're going to get if you get your discount books through your Bookbub ad every day.
Has that helped with your Google reviews or your Amazon reviews?
Oh, tons. I started at about 50 for my first Christmas book. And I had a Bookbub ad last year on Christmas Eve, which I thought nobody's going to be looking at it on Christmas Eve, right? And I went to like 500 reviews from 50 within the next month and a half. And I got another one this year for that same book. And now I'm up over 1,000 reviews. And that's what Bookbubs do for you. And they help your other books sell as well.
Well, that's fantastic. Susan, how can people get in touch with you?
I am at all the right places, I guess. I'm on Instagram Susan Sands author. I'm at, I have a website, susansands.com. I have my Facebook page for my author page, which is, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's Facebook author page for Susan Sands. And also Twitter at Susan Noel Sands. Is that everything? Bookbub. I've got a Bookbub page, so follow me there. So yeah, pretty much everywhere. Not TikTok, not yet. I'm not ready yet.
I haven't ventured onto TikTok at all, so I would be a neophyte at that. That's for sure.
Yeah, it seems like a young person's thing, though I know other people are doing it, but it feels young.
It does. It does. It's new, it's fresh, it's exciting, but I feel like I don't even know Instagram. So I'm falling behind.
Well, it happens.
Well, Susan, are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
I think so. I hope so.
Do you have any old VHS tapes in your closets?
Yes, I do. Disney princess movies, something called Thomas the Tank Engine videos, and Big Jobs from what my kids used to watch.
Do you have organized scrapbooks, or are they like mine where you have pictures everywhere?
Nothing is organized. No, it's not organized. I'm lucky to have like a baby book with things shoved in it for each one of my lovely children. And I have boxes of pictures that someday I plan to scan and put into my computer.
And do you like to journal?
I don't journal. I mean, I make notes, when I think about something I need to write or a new idea. I usually have a pad handy, pen and pad handy, but I'm not a person who sits down every day and writes my thoughts and happenings.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for stopping by.
It was fun. Thanks for having me.
You have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. Alison out. Boo! We're all done. Susan Sands describes herself as a late bloomer and began writing her first novel at the age of 40. She compares her challenging journey to publication as raising another child, a difficult one. Susan has published 5 Southern contemporary women's fiction novels, with another 4 coming out in 2022. They are humorous small-town stories she describes as fun, romantic, and filled with big family love. Susan also writes authentic, place-as-a-character Southern fiction with a humorous voice in addition to her Alabama series. For more information about Susan, visit her on her website at susansands.com. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us at floridawriters.org.